All right, so this next lesson is a really important lesson in AP seminar because all year we're going to be talking about the difference between lenses and focusing an argument through specific lenses and perspectives or point of views, which is the stakeholders that are affected by making a specific argument or who the argument is about. This lesson is going to be focused on lenses, and by the end of this lesson, you will be able to focus an argument through a specific lens or figure out what lens a specific argument is focused through. So your key vocabulary for this lesson, or for this video, is lens. And lenses are filters through which an issue or topic is considered or examined. So, for example, if we were looking at climate change, there are many different lenses in which you can look at that through. You can focus your research through an economic lens. So how is climate change affecting economics, affecting jobs, affecting entire economies throughout the world? You can focus it on a scientific lens. So what is the data telling us about climate change? You could focus it on through a political lens, like what are different political parties arguing about climate change? And this is a really good way to focus a specific argument and focus your topic of inquiry. The one thing we don't want to do is confuse this with perspective or point of view. If you think of perspective or point of view as the stakeholder that is affected by the issue, then if we look at lens, again using the climate change, we focus on it through a political lens. The point of view would be Republicans or Democrats or the president or even specific think tanks in the Washington, D.C. area that focus on this issue. That would be the perspectives or the point of views. So, what is the difference here? How do we know what the differences between lenses and perspectives are? So, in AP seminar, we focus on analyzing and making arguments through 10 specific lenses. That is cultural and social, futuristic, environmental, economic, scientific, political and historical, ethical, and artistic or philosophical. We try to stay away from the ethics and the philosophy just because we don't have enough of a background in ethics or philosophy to touch those. So the other 7 are fair game. So what does this look like in practice, you might ask? That's a really good question. And on the next slide, we are going to discuss that. So imagine we wanted to do research about COVID-19. There's a lot of information out there. So looking through one specific lens might help us narrow our inquiry. So just by doing a quick Google search, this is what I get in the first 5 hits. You get a list of symptoms. You get emergency warning signs. You get a map of the cases in the Washington, D.C. area. You get data for case overview. You get random frequently asked questions, and you get the top news stories, both nationally and locally, right there, and that is a lot of information to parse through. However, if you focus through a specific lens, it makes it a lot easier to digest. So for example, if we were doing a COVID-19 research project, we would want to focus our line of inquiry because it would be really hard to just write a paper about COVID-19. So we need to ask really good questions in order to focus through a specific lens. So if you're looking through a cultural or social lens, you might ask, Why are people of color in the United States disproportionately affected by COVID-19? If you were looking through an economic lens, you might want to ask, in what ways has the COVID-19 pandemic fundamentally changed the way we spend and save money? If we wanted to look through a political or historical lens, we might ask, how did wearing a mask become such a political debate? And if we wanted to focus on a scientific inquiry, we could ask, how does the evolution of the coronavirus's DNA make it more difficult to combat? By asking these specific questions, we are able to make an argument through a very specific lens that makes our research significantly easier. Broad research is really hard, but limiting that focus can save you a lot of trouble. So before you move on to to video 2 in lesson 3, what I want you to do is just choose one of the lenses, any of them, and ask a researchable question about COVID-19 that aligns with that lens that you chose. You can use any of the lenses, but don't reuse any of my questions. That's plagiarism. With that being said, just jot down a question and move on to video 2.